you know it's getting closer to the NFL season when people have absurd takes, right? And this one really confuses me. It is about Odell Beckham Jr. All right, because people have been going out of their way to say how bad of a receiver, how overrated of a receiver, or how much of a failure his career was in the NFL. I know he didn't announce his retirement officially. I know he's still a free agent, etc., etc. But let's talk about it. People like to diminish Odell Beckham Jr.'s career. OBJ is what we'll call him for the rest of the video. They like to diminish OBJ's career to just the catch, right? On Sunday Night Football, I think it was, Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys with Eli Manning as the quarterback. Threw it deep. He caught one hand while getting interfered with. Touchdown. They still lost that game, which was very frustrating to see, but it was a great catch, great moment, one of the best highlights of all time. Cool. That's not his only, that's not the only thing of his career. Like, he didn't just do that and then disappear. Okay? Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, was such a fast and dominant route runner and receiver. Like, the dude has some speed. If you watch any highlight of his career, or better yet, if you really are a nerd and have time, go watch full game recaps. Like, just go watch it. Watch the tape. Watch the video on this dude and some of the separation he got, or the yards after catch, the yaks he got, time and time again against some of the most elite corners of the game during that time when he was playing as a New York Giant. He was very, very good. In fact, if the Giants had a decent, even a decent O-line, had Saquon Barkley maybe 3 seasons prior to the whole Ben McAdoo situation, and then also didn't have Ben McAdoo, I really do think they had at least one more good run with Eli Manning left. I really do mean that. Because Eli Manning's decline was steep at the end, but it was hurried and progressed by the terrible, and I mean terrible, not even front office, but definitely in terrible front office, but the terrible personnel around him. Not even talking about the guys as much as the coaches. It really starts with the coaching. Ben McAdoo, the coaches that entered after Tom Coughlin were so freaking laughable. Because in no way, shape, or form, I know he's balling now, and now the narrative has changed. Now what did he say? He didn't write back, but Geno Smith at that time was not the answer for the New York Giants. No. They ruined, they embarrassed and humiliated Eli Manning on his way out. They are very lucky he's a class act. He loves the organization. He loves the city. Because the way they embarrassed Eli on his way out of the organization was so terrible. Right? And I digress off of that. OBJ. It was a popular, how you watch the Ravens offense play, and you watch it mostly, even if you're, especially if you're not a Ravens fan, you watch it see Lamar Jackson dominate. At one point, you watched the New York Giants to see what OBJ was going to do that Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whatever. He was very entertaining. He could get you over the top. He could hem you up within the 5 yards. He could do a lot of things. Him versus Josh Norman was hilarious. And it was a very entertaining game. It gave so many memes. Not just him, but the Cam Newton meme. It was an epic game. Then you had the game against the New Orleans Saints. Another game. At least I think he was part of that game. There's so many games out there we can just go look and be like, yo, OBJ looks like the best receiver in the league, because he was one of the best in the league during that run. Now, he had his issues and his temper tantrums, and the whole organization was a dumpster fire. Like what the organization is now versus then is night and day. And the Giants organization by no means is perfect. It's still yet to be seen. But the vibes and just overall outlook of the team look way more better together and has a lot more promise than what it was during those couple of years. Okay? And him going to Cleveland, injuries. Injuries happen and can derail careers. And it has claimed so many careers. It has. And Cleveland is Cleveland. Okay? And OBJ did have his injury history, and it made it very hard for him to come back. The front office and the coaching staff versus Baker Mayfield when he first got it was just a mess. And again, and I'll say this as many times as it takes, Jarvis Landry just declining the way he did was insane. Insane. So then you move on. Let's move on to him as a Rams. Him on the Los Angeles Rams was the closest we've gotten back to prime OBJ. Because the way Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford utilized him in that offense was crazy. It was epic. And they set him up in position like, hey, we know you have an injury history, and we know you're not as where you once were, right? When you first got to Cleveland. And when you're in New York, obviously. But we're going to set you up for success because we know you can do hella damage. And again, he tore his ACL again in the Super Bowl. And let me remind y'all, when he was in the Super Bowl, in the Rams versus Bengals, he was cooking before the ACL tear, he was cooking the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals had no answer for him. He was cooking them. And he was definitely on his way to winning Super Bowl MVP. I'm being very honest with you. If it wasn't for that injury, he would have been on pace to win Super Bowl MVP. In fact, I want to say if it wasn't for his injury, the game probably wouldn't have been as close. Because I'm just telling you, go back to watch. They really didn't have a clear-cut answer on how to stop the Rams offense when OBJ was installed. They just didn't have it. He was hemming everybody up every which way. There was no answer for him. Okay? Even going to his 1 year stint as a Baltimore Raven. That 1 year stint with him as a Raven showed me that if we had prime OBJ with this current prime version of Lamar Jackson, at least offensively, it would have been blockbuster. It would have been Hollywood. It would have been Showtime. Because even that version of OBJ, which was lesser than the Rams and lesser than the first year Browns and his whole stint in New York, was still very good. He just has this ability to gain separation legally from his defender. And then after that, the yards after, he's just such an effective receiver. He's a very effective tool to have in your arsenal when you're going to battle every Sunday. And to just sit here and say OBJ wasn't a good receiver, he was some bum, is crazy. It's crazy. It's like people are overlooking how dominant he was in his game, right? How right his hands were when it came to catching the football. He was not scared of contact. He got hella separation. He could kill you over the top. He could kill you inside. He can kill you he could kick a field. I think he kicked at least one official field goal. He could kick field goals. The dude could punt. The dude could throw. The dude could do everything. It was very unfortunate that we didn't get to see prime OBJ with prime Saquon. And even with a declining Eli Manning, it would have been nasty. I really wish we could have seen a good quarterback with the two of them in the offense, because I just think people are overlooking just how good OBJ was, man. I really, really do. And it just sucks, like everything else, for people to see a player, and just because he's not a Hall of Famer, that he must be ass. And that's just not the case. It just isn't. But tell me your thoughts on OBJ. What is your favorite OBJ moment or tenure on a team? Am I crazy? Am I one of the only ones who are like, dang, people are just overlooking this guy? Just like what they did with Cam Newton recently. Like the people just overlooking some of these players because just because players are not going to make it to the Hall of Fame does not mean the career was wasted. Does not mean they're bums. Okay, I hate that we are doing these to former players or these players that are not currently on a team, etc., etc. So, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and let me know your thoughts down below. See you on the next one. Peace.